Good afternoon, folks. This is fun, exciting, different. I'm gonna wait a minute or two here. I just started early. We've got lots of people here. I see some familiar names, familiar faces. We got lots of Get More Math teachers in here. It's exciting. Let's see, it is 12 o'clock. I'm gonna say welcome. This is uncharted territory for all of us. When I run these webinars, I'm usually talking to teachers about how to use Get More Math in their classroom, and this is my first time talking to teachers about how to use Get More Math outside of your classroom. So we're going to talk about just being a little bit more flexible, giving each other grace. So I'm going to ask for your grace today because this is a brand new presentation for me. This is brand new for all of us. We're all kind of doing something different. I know you're home, maybe with your kids. My kids are home with me. I've just said, leave mom alone for the next half an hour, 45 minutes. So I'm just waiting for what disaster will most certainly come up in the next half an hour. We'll see. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off and start the presentation. So thanks so much for joining us today. Erica Martin, who am I? I am the director of training here at Get More Math, but I was a classroom teacher for 14 years. I will be the first to tell you, I don't have a ton of experience with teaching 120 kids from my living room. I didn't do that, but I'm also guessing most of you haven't done that either. And so I think we're all trying to figure it out right now and do the best we can. And so what I'm here to do today is to kind of show you what Get More Math has to offer and how we think it might be a viable solution for you and your students over the next few months. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. These are the questions I think lots of you are asking right now. What are your expectations and are they realistic? What do we expect from our students over these next 3 months? How are we going to teach and communicate when our students are at home? What about devices and internet access? I know some of our schools are one-to-one and we can count on that, and some of our students aren't. What do we do in those cases? Is anyone else already doing this? And I will tell you the answer to that one is yes. We have lots of teachers that are using Get More Math quite effectively right now during this time. And so we're going to talk about how they're doing that. How do you get started? And then once you get started, what kind of support do we offer moving forward? And we're going to cover all of that. So I want to start first with expectations. You know, here we are, it's March. We've covered so much material already. And I bet you a lot of math teachers out there are simply thinking, listen, I don't want to lose everything my students have built so far this year. So we really want to maintain that previous learning. And maybe that's your only expectation over the next 2 months. Or maybe you're a little more aggressive and you're thinking, no, I expect my students to keep learning and learn something new over the next 3 months. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to ask you. What is realistic? If your students truly are at home, we don't know what kind of support they have at home. We don't know the resources. We don't know how much we can communicate with them. I think we really need to be upfront with the fact that we are in very different circumstances. And with very different circumstances, we have very different expectations. So you're going to hear that theme throughout the presentation today, where I really do think we can help, but I want to make sure that we're not putting too much on our students' plate. We're not expecting too much of them because we have to be very realistic that they aren't in our classroom anymore. They don't have us there to help all the time. Okay? This is the cycle that we're proposing. All right, we definitely want to create some sort of practice session for our students. We want them to keep working through the math that we taught previously and maybe math that we want to teach them moving forward. We still need to provide them with instruction. We need them to practice. We want to monitor that practice. And then realistically, we're going to need to assist during that practice. We know they're going to come up with mistakes. They're going to struggle. They're going to need our help. Well, I will tell you that everything marked in green here is provided by Get More Math. And so we're going to go through that today and how we can use the app to provide those things. On the other hand, the instruction and the assistance is what we expect to be provided by the teacher. Now, typically that happened in the classroom. So now the challenge becomes, how do you, the teacher, still provide the instruction and provide the assistance when you aren't in the classroom anymore and you're at your home and they're at their home? Now, one thing I want you to note is that Get More Math was specifically designed to be a tool for in the classroom. It was designed by a teacher who felt very strongly that that instructional component is always best delivered by the teacher themselves. And so just keep that in mind as we're going through why that instructional piece is not part of the app specifically. That's why. So let's take a look at that providing instruction piece. How might you do that when you are not in school? Well, we asked most of our Get More Math teachers, hey, are you still using the app now that we're in this remote situation? And how are you doing it? So these were the suggestions that we actually got from our Get More Math teachers. And I'm not going to read through them. You can go ahead and take a look at them. And also note that this PowerPoint is actually attached as a document to this webinar, so feel free to download it. But what we want to make clear is you still need to provide this instruction. We're going to talk about how you can add skills into the student's practice, but whether you are recording a video and sending it to your kiddos, or you're simply writing out example problems with clear steps and somehow getting that to your students, you, the teacher, still need to provide instruction on old or new skills, okay? Now, let's look down there on the bottom. When our students are practicing and we're monitoring that practice, how can we also assist with that practice when they get stuck? Let's go back to what our teachers told us. What are they doing when the students are stuck? Well, within the app, they're using our current status page and they're scheduling office hours so that kiddos know specifically what time to log on, when to do their practice, because they know their teacher will also be logged on, and then they can use the app to monitor what the kids are doing, check their problems, replace problems, message them, and I'm going to show you how to do that later. Some teachers are using FaceTime. You'll see the other two suggestions there that are within the app is we are going to ask that you increase the number of skips that you offer your students. And we're going to show you how to possibly deactivate certain skills that might be more commonly stuck. Students get stuck with them. We're going to turn them off or suggest that you do that. So while the teacher is still responsible for providing the instruction and providing the assistance, let's talk about how Get More Math can actually be used for the practice piece and the monitoring piece. But before we do that, since some of you are very new to Get More Math, and I apologize to those of you that have been maybe using us for years, this is going to be a review for you, but I think it's key that you understand what Get More Math is and how it might be different from other online practice tools. Get More Math was actually designed to change this model that you're looking at right now. This idea that teachers provide a lesson and then provide practice on that lesson is something that we feel only works momentarily. It really doesn't help build retention over time. So what Get More Math does instead is it assumes that yes, while there is always going to be some sort of lesson on new material, and then we will still support focused practice on that material. What is most important and what we do better than what we think anybody else is we provide mixed review, frequent mixed review that is spiraled to cover everything that a teacher has taught over the year and is individualized for every single student so that while they're in mixed review, they are being given the problems that they need most. And that's what Get More Math does. Now, what you're looking at right here is an example of a student screen, and this is that focus practice. So you can see that it's very small. There are only 3 skills for this student to work on, and it's clearly related to the lesson that was taught today. So this will be what we would call a practice set. Small, specific, based on the recently taught material. What you're looking at now is a student that's in mixed review. That's the other piece that I told you that we offer. This piece is really the heart of our application. This is where I like to say that the magic happens, and here's why. What you're looking at with all of these squares is a collection of every skill that has been taught so far this year for this particular student. Now, take a look. Let's gray out all those other skills and focus solely on these red ones. When you're looking at a red skill, that's telling me that this student has either very little practice on these skills, meaning they're very new, or he's still very, very weak on these skills. He has not progressed. Now, those skills, the yellow ones, that's when a student has shown some initial progress on a skill. They're not red, We're not certain that they know it yet, but they're certainly progressing. Yellow skills will turn to green skills. Green skills will turn to silver skills over time as a student continues to get those questions right over a long period of time. And our highest rating, which we feel confident that the student has really shown long-term retention and proficiency on a skill, is a gold star. So these color ratings speak very much to the retention level and the proficiency level of a skill for any given student. Now remember, this is a collection of everything a student has seen so far this year. But I want you to take notice that only certain skills within this collection have dollar signs. And dollar signs are another key fundamental topic within Get More Math. If you don't understand how the dollar signs work, you're not going to understand how the app works. If you look up in the top green bar, that dollar sign says it's worth 1 point, which is our way of tracking what our students are practicing. So for this particular student, we are saying that these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's 8 skills are the skills that this student needs to be practicing most based on his practice history. So this way our student has some choice, but he's not able to just pick one particular skill and work on it all day long. He can only earn points on skills that have dollar signs. And if you were to look at his neighbor would have dollar signs placed on different skills based on their needs. And you would see that throughout an entire classroom. So truly, this mixed review piece is so powerful because you're looking at an entire collection that is individualized for every single student. Now, let's talk a little bit more about that dollar sign because it has one more very important piece. And I'm going to actually show you how it works. You can see up at the top that the square that's highlighted in blue is the one that's selected, and it has a dollar sign, which means it's worth a point. So if the student answers this question and gets it right, smileys will fall, and you'll notice that that student now has 1 point for today. Now take a look at the skill with the blue outline, still has a dollar sign. Watch what happens if the student gets it wrong. If he gets it wrong, you'll see in the top, it says first try incorrect. You'll see a magenta dot in the answer box. This student will be forced to fix their mistake and resubmit the answer. Now, if we submit it and we get it right on our second try, watch what happens. Dollar signs fall and we get a new problem, but you notice we did not get a point. So this is something that I want you to understand. Your students now, when you're practicing in Get More Math, it's not about just doing lots of problems. When we reward a point, it's actually for doing a problem correctly on the first try if it had a dollar sign, which means we thought it was worth doing. And so it's a bit of a higher standard. And I will tell you, for my students in my classroom, it really translated into them slowing down, checking their work instead of just rushing through to get it done. They really were checking their notes and trying to understand the math. But I want to be realistic with you that students, they need help. If they get it wrong and they need to fix it, they may need help on figuring out what it is that they got wrong or whatever the mistake was that they made. And so that's where that communication piece is going to be critical. You'll notice that Get More Math gave me another problem of that type. So if I go ahead and answer this one, and if I get it right on the first try, I do in fact get that point. So those are just some of the basic fundamentals that I wanted you to understand. How is a practice set different than mixed review? How do those dollar signs work to individualize for our students? And how are they linked with earning points within the app? So how do we take this cycle and instead of using Get More Math in the classroom, how do we use it outside of the classroom? So now we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. And this is what we're proposing. We don't actually think that the best way to do this is to create a practice set on new material and then get into old material. This is in a different environment, different expectations. So we're actually going to ask that you think about this in terms of a practice session. Let's really try to focus on retaining what it is that we've done all year and maybe pulling in a new skill here or there, maybe. So I'm going to ask you to look at these numbers and stick with them. Let's think of 2 old skills and 1 new skill in every practice session that we give our students. Now, I'll be honest, many of the Get More Math teachers that replied to my survey said they're actually not allowed to teach new material, which that's okay. If that's the case, then just don't put any new skills in and you can maybe add 3 skills. Maybe you want to just stick with 2 old skills. That's okay too. But I will tell you that no matter what you put in your practice session, new or old, I want you to be sure that you're providing instruction on all of the skills you include. One of the biggest mistakes our teachers make is they assume that their students can do the skill, and then they give it to them and they realize their assumption was incorrect, and they have lots of very frustrated kiddos. Okay? So here's our step-by-step guide before we jump into the app. I am going to teach you how to create a practice set with both old and new skills. Then we are going to start that practice set, but immediately switch our classes to mixed review, and I'll show you why. We are going to check our current status, hopefully during office hours, if that's an option for you, but I'll show you how you can do that. We will check our points history to track practice, and then we will check a mixed review menu in order to monitor that color progress before we start the cycle again. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at the teacher app. There we go. I'm gonna head here to Chrome. And I'm going to ask Pam if you would be so kind as to send me a message and let me know that you can still see the teacher app. I just want to make sure that by changing screens, you can still see what I'm doing. Yes, all right. So here's what I'd like you to do. I am not going to go over the basics today, guys, on how to create classes and how to create students. We've got lots of resources, lots of training options. I'm really going to get down to the nitty-gritty on how you would build these practice sessions. So you'll notice that within the app, we've got classes, students, and work. And I have a class here, a grade 7 class. And that grade 7 class, I only put 4 students in it. And I'm going to come over and I'm going to make some work for them. So I'm going to head to my work tab, and right down here on the bottom, you're going to see a blue plus sign. I'm going to click that, and I am going to create a practice set. I'm going to name my practice set Session 1. And if you remember, we were going to stick with 2 old skills and 1 new skill. So let's take a look at the right side. The right side is the problem bank from Get More Math. And you'll notice that right now I'm in the all skills collection. These are all organized by subjects. However, if you take a look down here on the bottom, there is something called collections. If you pull that up, you're going to see a collection called unit guides. If I open that up, you'll see different grade levels. These are smaller collections. Some people are overwhelmed by our all skills bank. There's so many skills. This is a nice place to look if you just want something a little bit more consumable. You may see a state level folder correlated to your state. You may not. We don't have all 50 just yet. But for today, we are actually going to stick with the all skills bank. Okay? Let's pretend that I'm a pre-algebra teacher, and my 2 old skills that I want to review are 1-step equations. And my 1 new skill is maybe I think that I can teach 2-step equations today. So I can just take it 1 step farther. I will warn you that as you open pre-algebra and you look at these titles, math teachers get very excited. I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I taught exponents. Financial literacy, love that. Fractions, inequality, linear. And you look through here and your temptation is going to be to dump tons and tons of skills onto your student's screen. If I could make you all take an oath right now, I would, to say, I do solemnly swear I will not do that. You cannot take all these skills and just dump them onto your students. It will not work. I promise you. We've seen it over and over and over again. You need to start small, and you need to start with skills that your students will feel success with. And then as you see those colors progress and you see your students working, then you can slowly add more and more and more skills to them. Because remember, not only are we starting it's not even mid-year, a little bit past mid-year, but we're also in this, remote situation. So just be mindful of that. I'm going to come down here to solving equations. I'm going to open that folder. You'll see more categories. We've got condensed, we've got decimals. Do you want fractions? Insanely granular control. I'm telling you, one of the beautiful pieces about Get More Math right now is you, the teacher, are crafting these sessions. And you, the teacher, know the most about your students and what they can handle and what they can't. So maybe you know that you want just this type of skill for your kids today. You get to pick that. So it's not about sort of just a lock and loaded, we make something and you push it out. You really have lots of choice here. I know that the skill I want is in this integers folder, and I'm going to look into one step. Once you get to the blue hexagon, that's where you're actually looking at a skill. So a blue hexagon in the teacher app is going to result in one of those colored squares on the student app. So I'm going to take a look at this one. You'll see this button right here, cycle, cycle, cycle. This is showing you the many variations that your students might see if you give them this skill. Now, please make sure that you're looking at many of these so that you don't accidentally add a skill that you don't realize that the third variation is not something that you've taught, okay? If you like the skill, go ahead and add it, and it's now part of my practice set. I'm going to close that preview down, and I'm going to take a look and see, is there another one-step equation? Well, here it is. This one's using addition and subtraction. So I'm going to cycle, cycle. Those all look pretty good. So I'm going to add that. And those are my two old skills. Now I'm going to look for a new skill. I want to see if I can provide some instruction. Do I think my students can handle a two-step equation? Here it is. Cycle, 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 cycle. I'm going to go ahead and add that skill as well. Okay. So just to review on this side, close the folders, open the folders. Once you get to a skill, here's your preview, here's your sample, and I also want to point out that you can see the answer, okay? So anytime you're looking at any skill, sample, answer. It's important to note as well, okay? All right, I'm going to close that back up for you. Here's my practice set. Typically, this would matter if you were using it in the classroom. If you really wanted to use it as that focus practice, this would be important, but I'm not going to spend any time on this because I'm actually going to tell you to immediately push them to mixed review. So this number no longer really matters. I'm going to tell you to put a 1 in there just so that we can save it and start it. So I'm going to start this for my class. It says grade 7 is now practicing session 1. Those new skills were added to mixed review. I'm actually going to go ahead and click view and look where it takes me. It takes me back to the classes page, and it takes me right to this current status. And I'm going to ask that you immediately switch to mixed review, and I'm going to show you why. Okay? If I log in as a student, Anna, did I spell you with an E? Nope, with an A. All right. If I log in as Anna, you can see right now that I have 3 skills, but you'll see also that I am only in session 1. I'm in this practice set, and I don't want this to say session 1 or 0 of 3. I want it to actually say mixed review, and I'll show you why. If I switch to mixed review, same skills, same mixed review, but there's a very important feature in the app, and I'll find it under settings. If I go to settings and I turn my skips on, typically skips are only turned on when a teacher is offline, but because of this scenario, I'm going to turn them on all the time, online and offline. And I'm going to actually increase this number, and I'm just going to make it go to the maximum amount, which is 15. So I'm going to leave it at 15, and I'll show you why. Now, when I click back over to my student, do you see how she has skips here? And what that means is, if I answered this question correctly, let's see, I'm going to add 14, so solve for V. V equals negative 10. Oh, I earned a point. Look at that. Now, if this one, I answer, oh, I got that one right too. I wanted to get that wrong. Let's get this one wrong. Okay, I got this one wrong. And if I try it again and I get it wrong again, and I'm stuck, I can actually choose one of my skips and it will take that problem away so that your kids have some flexibility. Skips do not exist in the practice set. So that's another reason that we want you to be pushed immediately to mixed review, okay? So remember, we made a practice session. There it is. We started it. As soon as we started it, we clicked a button that said switch to mixed review. Obviously, that's not there anymore because we're already in mixed review. And now I want to point out how this current status table might be helpful. You can see that Anna's online. When Anna is online, if I am stuck on this problem, I have another option other than skipping it. I can actually raise my hand, and then you'll see over here on the teacher app that I have under help a note that Anna needs help. So I'm going to click on that hand, and you can see down here that Anna is requesting help with this problem. I can see the answer that Anna put in. I can see the correct answer is 3. And I can actually come over here into the message board and I can say, Anna, good try, but did you add 6 to both sides? And I can send that message to Anna. Now this is telling Anna to come get help because again, this is meant to be an in-class tool. She can just ignore that, but take a look at this. Anna now has a message from her teacher telling her good job, good try, but did you add 6 to both sides? And now I've been able to give my student a hint. Now I know most of you are probably thinking in your head, well, can Anna message back to me? And the current answer is no. Right now, the teacher is available or is able to send a message to any student that is online, but the students are not able to message back. Now, trust me, we have heard from our teachers and they would like that capability, specifically with the situation we're all in right now. And so that is something we are working on as we speak. And so we are hoping as soon as we can to get a chat feature out where the communication goes both ways. So just know that that is something we are working on. I'm going to go ahead and close. Oh, one more thing I did want to show you here. If a student is requesting help with a problem, you can also just look at their current problem, even if they didn't ask for help. One thing that's really helpful is this button right here that says replace problem. If a student is totally stuck and you really just want to get rid of that problem for them, if you click replace and you look back, Anna's problem here in a second, yep, it just went away and now she's got a new one to try. So lots of control and flexibility for the teacher here in the current status screen. I want to take a moment and point out this points history screen. This is simply going to be a calendar. You can set a start date and an end date. It's going to show you the number of points earned by each of your students on the calendar totals that you, or whatever dates, whatever the date range is that you choose. Okay. Now, mixed review. You see these little arrows down here. I want you to know those will collapse and open your columns. I'm going to go ahead and collapse them so I have a nice big screen here. There's 2 things I want to point out on this screen. This is the first one. You'll notice that the 3 skills that I added to my practice set are now part of my mixed review. If it occurs that you add a skill and shortly thereafter you realize that it was harder than you thought, or your students weren't ready for it, or they are just way too confused, maybe my 2-step was too much, all you need to do is simply deactivate that skill and it will take it out of the student's mixed review. Okay. If I look over here, now you'll notice that Anna only has 2 skills instead of 3. Maybe I send another instructional video and I decide I want to turn it back on so the students have a chance to give it another shot. Simply turn it back on and it comes back. Okay. So I wanted everyone to be aware of this activate and deactivate column. Now, I want you to check out these column visibility. Click on this, and I'd like you to at least turn your colors on. You can turn on accuracy and untried. You can check that out later if you'd like. Right now, you can see that of the 3 skills I added, all 4 of my students are still red, and red is the lowest color rating. I'd really like you to monitor this before you decide to add another practice session with more skills. If you look and the majority of your students are yellow, or maybe some are going to green, then I absolutely encourage you to head back to the work page and make another session. However, if all of your students are still sitting at red, I want you to realize what that means. They're not doing the problems right. And if they're not doing the problems right, are they really ready to get new skills to practice? The realistic answer is no. So we're going to talk about that when we go back to the PowerPoint, but I'll show you. Let's assume those move to yellow. Then I could simply head back here, create another practice session. We'll call this one session 2. Can add maybe 2 more old skills. Maybe I don't even want a new skill. Maybe I say I just want to build a nice solid mixed review from what we've done. So I'm going to pick some evaluate skills. I'll add that one. Of course, I would cycle through. I'll add this one. And because I know these ones are slightly more challenging, maybe I only want 2. Like I said, this doesn't matter. So we're going to put a 1. We're going to hit save. We're going to hit start. If I go to view, remember, my students now, thanks for the message, Robbie. My students now are working where? Session 2. I don't have any skips. I only have 2 to choose from. Don't leave them in the practice set. Where are we going to click? Switch to mixed review. Now my students are in mixed review, and they have the 3 skills from the first session and the 2 skills from the new session. And remember, you don't have to worry because Get More Math is going to put the dollar signs where they need to go. Okay, let me look at my notes here. One other piece that I wanted to point out in the app is, wouldn't it be really helpful if the lessons you sent your students actually looked like a student? So if potentially you create a dummy student and log in as that student, and maybe you do the practice right from here, and that's the recording that you send to your students. I just thought that might be a good tip. All right, let's head back here to the PowerPoint. We're going to review this again. So we created that practice set that either included old and new or just old. And then we made some sort of instruction for our students given that set. After we hit start, we immediately switched to mixed review. We checked on that current status page during our office hours so that we could provide assistance to our students and monitor what they're doing. The points history report was that calendar that showed the points over time. And then remember, we checked that mixed review page to monitor that color progress. How many of our students are still sitting at red? Have any of them moved to yellow? And I'm going to really highlight this piece right here, because the temptation is to do this cycle on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and add and add and add and add. And folks, I'm telling you, that's not a good idea. I want you to check the data before you restart. So take that practice session and ask yourself, are those skills at least yellow? And if the answer is no, let them keep working until the answer is yes. Then go create another one. Okay? All of this together, guys, are we trying to achieve some sort of success with our kids at this point? Of course we are. But we all need to be realistic about what we can accomplish over the next 2.5 months. And maybe that means a very trimmed mixed review. Maybe it means very minimal new material. And in the meantime, while our kids are in a completely different location, we need to be very creative about how we communicate with them for both instruction and for help. Okay? Let's talk about the support you're going to get from us if you decide you'd like to use Get More Math during this time. We have an entire team of trainers, and we are completely committed to supporting you through these next few months. So when we say one-on-one support, if you want to call our phone, if you need us to walk you through how to set it up, if you want us to help you with directions, we will do whatever we can to help you over this time. I will tell you that right now, Our app does not support printing, but we are able to do that from our end as trainers. And so we have sort of opened it up to all of our Get More Math teachers and said, listen, if you need something printed, just ask. We will make it happen. We will save the PDF and we will send it to you. So again, this is sort of a, we understand it's not in the app at this time. It is coming. That's the good news. But in the meantime, simply ask and we will help you out. We have so many teacher resources. And the really cool thing, one silver lining about this, is it seems like teachers have some more time to actually participate in the professional development. And so on our website, and I'll show you where it's at here in a second, we've got fantastic resources that I would encourage you to take advantage of. I would also ask all of you to check out our Facebook group. It's called Get More Math Teachers. And I will tell you that there are already lots of teachers sharing ideas on what it is that they're doing right now. Some of them are on this webinar. And so it's a great environment. It's a great place where you can kind of ask questions and hear from other teachers that are using our app. And then the last piece is, I know if there's anybody on this call that is like, listen, this is the first I've seen Get More Math. Boy, you flew through this, Erica. I understand that. We have an online academy that can truly walk you through step-by-step how to set all of the basics up. So I would encourage you to check out course 1 if you're interested in more fundamentals, understanding the app. But I would tell you to check out course 2 if you want some further instruction on how to actually set up a class. How do I create the class? How do I create those 4 students you had in there? If you need some help with that. We also have online trainings available every single day where you're actually live with a trainer, and I can show you where to catch those as well. So let's talk a little bit more about how you find the resources in the Academy. Here's a nice screenshot of the teacher app, and if you take a look at the top right corner, you'll notice that little icon. It looks like a little person. We call it the profile icon. If you click on it, you'll see some options there to change your password and log out, but the top 2 are my favorite. It will take you directly to our Academy or directly to our website that houses all of our resources. And if you click on the Academy, what you're going to find is we've got several longer form courses and then many mini courses that just take a few minutes to kind of go through very specific topics. So I would encourage you to check those out. And now we're almost done. Thanks for sticking with me. How do you get started? If you're interested and you have not already signed up for your free trial, you're just going to want to go to our regular website, getmoremath.com. And in the top right-hand corner, you see I have it highlighted in red there. There's a big button that says free trial. And then it'll say step 1 of 3. The first one is just a general overview. We want you to be sure that you're even interested. Are we covering your material or your grade level? Step 2 is going to give you a short video. It looks familiar. It's going to talk to you about, what is a practice set and what's mixed review and how do the points work? Because again, we want teachers to kind of know what it is we have to offer. And then finally, if you're still interested, step 3 is you're simply going to fill out this form. And as soon as you register, as long as you give us a school email that matches with a school we have on our records, within a minute, you're going to have your credentials sent to you to go ahead and log in and get set up. And if there are any issues or it doesn't seem to work, you just drop us a quick email and we'll get that all figured out. And your free trial at this point in the year will actually last until the end of next school year. So that's the other thing that's encouraging. If you really do take the time and effort to set this up and kind of learn about it and implement it, you're actually going to be able to use it all of next year as well. So at least you've got that going for you. And that is the end, folks. So, okay, great question about skips. Let's go take a look at those and then I'll come back. So if we go back here to the app, someone said, how do I increase skips? And I'll just give you a quick reminder there. If you go to your class and you go to your class settings, right here, 15 is actually the max. So that is where you do the increase. And then someone had a great question. They said, okay, if I skip that one and I skip that one and I skip that one, oh my goodness. I will tell you, notice that the app will not let you skip everything. So once you get down to your last colored square, you're really out of options. Other than, since you asked, I will tell you, if the student simply logs out and logs back in, they're back. So maybe that is a tip that you want to give your students in this case. Again, if you were in the classroom, this would be a very different story, but that is exactly how the skips work. All right, let's see what other questions we have. What do you suggest if you've been using Get More Math all year and you have over 100 skills in mixed review? Well, that's a great question, Jeff. I would certainly say it's time for you to do some pruning. So I would head to your app and I would go to your mixed review and you would have a list of 100 here. I would either do some very thoughtful pruning. I would encourage you to check out our Academy course on mixed review where we actually talk about how to use data, the specific data, to make thoughtful decisions on which ones to turn on and which ones to turn off. I actually had a teacher email me and say that she's doing the 10-10-20 rule. And what that means is she's turning all of her mixed review off but 10, and she leaves that on for Monday and Tuesday. And then she turns those ones off and she turns 10 different ones on. And so she's got those 10 on for Wednesday and Thursday. And then on Friday, she turns all 20 on and she leaves them on for the weekend. And that's kind of what she has been doing over the last week and a half since her students are out, so that they have like a focus that she can sort of build on. And so that I'm assuming the next week she'll do a different 10 and then a different 10 and then those 20. So now they're up to kind of 40. Jeff, I would also say, if now's the time, if you wanted to jump on a call with one of our trainers and we could actually do a screen share and walk you through your own data to specifically talk to you about how to prune, we'd be more than happy to do that too. So just reach out to us if you're interested in that. Okay. Someone asked, what are the points for? It's a good question. So the reason that we track points in Get More Math versus just how many questions did you answer is because we're really trying to shift the student's motivation from simply completion. I don't know about you, but when I taught high school, if I were to hand a worksheet out for practice, my students had one goal in mind, and that was to simply complete it and turn it in. And oftentimes I just looked at it, it looked complete, and that was good enough for me. Some kids, I couldn't even get them to just hand it in. With Get More Math, we're really shifting that, and we're saying, listen, we don't want to just worry about, oh, you completed the work. We really want to know, did you understand the math? Did you understand what you were doing? And the best way to know if a student understood a skill is to know, were they able to answer it correctly? Now, on the flip side, what I loved was when they answered it incorrectly, once my students realized they actually had to go back and fix it, again, it addressed that mistake. So I was sort of correcting the error the first time it happened, instead of allowing the error to occur over and over and over again in old practice. So we really value, not just, oh, we only want the right answer, but the other value is there. We really want you to fix the mistake so that, we don't keep doing it and we get the right answer the next time. How could you address how to add students to classes? I've never used GMM and I have to add 120 students. Is there a way to batch upload them? The answer is no. There is no way to batch upload students right now. Since we're sort of in the Q&A portion, I'm going to go ahead and actually just show you that. And if anybody's out of time, I'll understand if you bail. But from the student screen, from the app, you have two ways to make students, but there is actually a third way to do it, and I'll show you all three here quickly. Creating students is quite simple. You simply just say, this is Sarah Anderson, Anders, and you choose the class that you want to put that student in, and you just hit submit and confirm. And now this student is in my class. You can see here is the username, there's the password. You definitely want to make note of that or print that. This might not be the best way for your students to join because you don't really have any way to give this to your students. I guess unless you print that and save it and give it to them, you'll need to. If you did already have students, you would use an import feature, but I'm not going to show you that. The other option is to use what we call a class code. And I think if you just gave clear directions to your students, this actually might be the easiest version. They would head to the website, getmoremath.com, and they would go to login and choose student. And from the student login, do you notice down here on the bottom, it says, do you already have an account? You can join with a class code. Well, your students obviously would not. So they don't have an account. Would they like to create a new one with a class code? So you would tell them to choose this version right here. And then they just have a simple form to fill out. They need to put your class code in, their first and last name. They need to choose a unique username and create their own password. And so the only thing you need to know here is where do you find the class code? So let's head back to the app. And if I go to the classes page, and here's my 7th grade class, every class will have a different code. You'll find that class code in our settings. Here's our settings page, and right there's your class code. So if you simply provide this code to your students, TBLCFP, so TBLCFP, and then they can say, okay, this is Tucker Doodle. That's my dog that's barking out back right now. Username, T-Doodle. Hit submit. Oh, that username's taken. Let's try this. T-Doodle123. There we go. And so now that student can just T-Doodle123. And I'm logged in, and there's the work that I just provided. And you can see when I go to that class, now I have Anna and Tucker Doodle. And so the class code is pretty slick. You would just need to type up a direction sheet for your kiddos. And again, we have all of this online, and we'd be more than happy to help you with all of that. So hopefully I answered that question. Let's see. Okay, good question. When 3 skills are assigned in mixed review, how many total questions are asked in that session? Let's talk about that for a second. So here I've got Anna, and Anna's in mixed review, and Anna has 5 skills. And I think what this teacher is asking is, well, how many does she get? And the answer is she gets an infinite number of questions. This never goes away. They just keep cycling and cycling. So these points just keep going up and up and up for the day. So the question might be, well, how do my students know when they're done? Well, what you can do is you can set a goal for the day. So if you come over here onto your classes page and you hit set today's goal, you say, okay, guys, so there are 5 skills now in mixed review. And I know that to earn a point, you have to get it right on the first try. So I'm going to ask that you get 4 points per skill. So I'm going to say a goal of 20. Go ahead and hit save goal. Now today's goal for this class is 20. And now if I look at Anna, do you see that it says I have 18 points remaining? Now I will tell you that even once I get those 18 points, it's not like my screen shuts down. I can still keep practicing and practicing and practicing. A lot of our teachers like to give weekly goals, specifically if you're not giving instruction every single day. So what you might do is you might say to your students, for the entire week, I'd like you to get 40 points. And then they have some more flexibility across, each day. Can you set a default to be mixed? Pamela, that's a great question. The answer is no. You actually have to create that practice set to get new skills, and then you have to switch to mixed review. What is the time frame of receiving printing requests after it's requested? I don't know. I think my team is pretty phenomenal. I think we get it to you within probably the same day. Unless you send it to us at the end of a work day, you should have that printing back pretty quickly. I teach multiple classes. Can all of my sessions have the same office hours? Really good question. Absolutely. So what you would do is, let's say you had another class. So you had grade 7, and let's say you also have grade 6, and that's no problem. Grade 6 might be working on something else. What you would have to do within that time is you might have to look at the current status on grade 6 and then occasionally flip over and look at the current status on grade 7, or if this was period 6 and period 7. But it's no problem that all of your students are working at the same time. It's just that you will have to switch between classes to see the current status for each one. But I don't actually think that would be too hard. I think we could do that. I feel badly. 2 of you said you stopped hearing me. Yes, the free trial, does that include access for your kids? Absolutely. And it's for your entire district as well. So feel free to share this with your colleagues. Yes, the trial is actually for each school. I know I said it's for your whole district, so now it sounds like I'm sort of contradicting myself. Somebody just asked that their high school teachers have a license and pay for Get More Math, but the middle school teachers haven't tried it yet. And so I would encourage you to maybe contact your sales manager, your account manager specifically, but I think it's safe to say that as long as those middle school teachers haven't tried Get More Math, we'd be happy to give them a trial as well. Someone said, thank you, you're very welcome. When will the free trial end? I think I answered that, but I'm going to tell you again just because I think it's pretty awesome. You get it from now until next June, June of 2021. How much does it cost after the free trial is done? Well, I am the director of training and I don't love to talk about pricing, but I will tell you that our basic cost after the free trial is $15 a student, but then we offer various different discounts based on sizing. So the most you would pay is $15 a student. Someone, Laurie, you said you signed up for the trial yesterday, but you haven't received your credentials. I will tell you that schools, emails, filtering systems are very, very picky about certain emails. And so oftentimes when we send you your credentials, they're filtered out. So I would encourage you to check your spam folder. If it's not in your spam folder, it might have just been sent directly to your trash. All you have to do is send us an email at support. In fact, I'm going to jot your name down anyway. So you don't necessarily need to. But what we can do is if we send it directly from a trainer, you'll get it. So the bottom line is, if anybody does sign up for the free trial and you don't get your credentials within a few minutes, please drop us an email and let us know, and we'll make sure. Someone wants me to turn my camera back on. You want to see my face? There it is. Let's see. I have one that I already pushed. I'm hoping I answered it. My answer wasn't visible when trying to help students. Answer wasn't visible when trying to help students. I'm not sure what that means. Caitlin, give me more to that question. Can I individualize review per student or is it per class? The answer is yes and no. The coolest part is the app individualizes the review for each student. You don't have to. So if you can imagine, let's go back to that picture where I had all the boxes. If you have 20, 30 skills on a screen, it is going to individualize for this kiddo and this kiddo and this kiddo. Now, if you say, I need something further, I have a kid in 7th grade that's really working at a 4th grade level. So if you want completely different skills in that kiddo's mixed review, then you need to make a separate class and you can move that kid into that class and he can have something different. So the answer is yes and no. This sounds great. I'm glad you like it. I have been using Get More Math all year and have tons of skills in mixed review. Do you suggest removing all the skills and starting over? No. I would just take that list and prune it. Make it less skills. Erica, if I already have classes skills mixed review set up, do you suggest still creating new sets with 2 old and 1 new, or could I just push new into their already set up mixed review? That's a great question. I will tell you, this person's saying, hey, I already have a mixed review set up and it's full, but I want to keep moving forward. I would say 2 things. Let's take a look at that mixed review and let's give it a trimming. Let's make sure that kids don't have so many red skills. So I would prune your current mixed review, and then I would be very, very, very careful about moving forward. I would move forward in very small chunks, and then I would, just like I said, to monitor those skills, those colors, I would do the same thing. If you add something new and you can visually justify that your kids have made progress on it, then feel free to add something new. But don't just add something new because time has passed. You need to see that your kids have actually made some progress without you before you add new. Someone asked, what is rotation time? I can head back over to the app and show you that. You must have noticed that when we were here. So this says rotation time 1 day. Now what rotation time means is, again, typically when we use Get More Math, the whole point is that we want students to cycle back through all the skills we've taught on a somewhat regular basis. And this time is going to tell us about how often that is. It's actually the median for this class. So 1 is because I just made this class this morning. Imagine that this said 10. What that would mean, you can click on this little question mark and it will help you. The median number of days it takes your students to correctly cycle through all active skills in mixed review. So it's basically saying, hey, your kids are getting through everything and they're answering it right about every 10 days. That's great. So really, for my teachers that have been using Get More Math all year, we use this number. If the number gets too high, if the number says 90 or the number says 92, then we say to our teachers, hey, if it's taking your kids 3 months to hit everything, we might have a problem. Maybe we need to spend some more time in mixed review. Maybe we need to have fewer skills, because if it's taking 3 months to cycle, they're not really cycling and they're not really going to retain the information. What is the average amount of points you could expect from students without overwhelming them? Paulette, thank you for that question. I'm really glad to hear that you don't want to overwhelm your students. Here's what I'd say. When you start low. Set a goal of 10 and then watch your class and ask yourself, did my students reach 10? And if they did, how quickly did they reach 10? Do you have these office hours? Did they zip through 10? Then maybe you just change that goal and you make it 20. Because they reached your bar so quickly. What you don't want to do is set it at 50 and then realize that your students take an hour to reach 5 points. It's very, very hard to give you an answer to that question because it depends on your students. It depends on the skills. We have skills that say 5 plus 7 or multiplication facts or even some of those equations that I put into my practice session today. Depending on the class, students might be able to, rip through those. But with a completely different group of students, that might take them an hour to get 20 points. So it's very, very hard for me to give you an answer. What I would say is set the bar low. If your kids reach it too quickly, oh well, that's okay. They're going to feel really great about that day. And then you can slowly raise the bar with each practice session. Okay. Did you say there was a way to print worksheets for kids? There is not in the app for you, but if you let us know that you need to have some worksheets created, we'd be happy to create them for you and send you the PDF. Is there a way to select skills that are lower than high school level? For example, I have students that are below grade level and would like to have, absolutely, yes, I see what you're asking here. So when you go to the work page, please be mindful that you have access to all of this. In fact, I'm going to take a look at the unit guides for a second here because they are organized by grade level. If you're teaching 6th grade, but you have students that are below grade level, feel free to go into grade 4 and grade 5 and check those skills out. You have access to all of these. So it's not like, you're pigeonholed into one specific grade. You can put anything you want, below grade level or above grade level, in for your students. Also another good question. Where was the class code listed? I can show you that again. Class code was at classes and then settings. And then it was right over here. And I'll tell you what, while you're asking that question, let's suppose that this webinar was over, which I gotta check, 106. I think we're good. Down here, I didn't make note of this chat icon. If you click on this, this will actually open up a chat, and you can either search. We have tons and tons of articles that will help you, or you can simply start a new conversation and say, where is the class code? And that will be sent to our team of, look at these great trainers up here. In the meantime, it will suggest articles. So if someone doesn't answer, here it says, how do I add new students using a class code? That's going to step by step. If you forget what I told you, it's right there. And it actually goes through the other two options as well. And then if you don't access that, one of the trainers will in fact reply and tell you where it's at. Look, one is answering right now. Thanks, Jennifer. Let's see. Other question. Thank you. You're welcome. What do students do with their game credits? Fantastic. I did not mention that. So there's Jen's answer. Thanks, Jen. I'm going to go ahead and close the chat. Game credits they're meant to be a brain break. So this is not something they can go play for a long, long time. I only have one game turned on. They're very basic games, but I'll tell you, it gives the kids a nice little break. It only lasts for 90 seconds and they have to earn it. So many points will earn them a game credit. And then they can just go ahead and shoot at these little asteroids. And within your class settings, you can turn more games on. And what's nice is their scores get ranked so they can sort of compete with other people in their class. And then as soon as the 90 seconds are up, it will take them right back to Get More Math, and they will keep practicing. Okay. Let's see. Oh my goodness, I've never had so many questions. There is no way to assign weekly points. Sorry, Sabrina, great question. At this point, you can only set it for the day. So if you really wanted to set a weekly goal, I'm assuming there's going to be other ways you're communicating with your students. You might just want to let them know that way. Someone said they have students at different levels and they don't want to bore some of their students while challenging others. Should I add different skills to different students? This would be my answer for you. If you truly had a class, if it was just period 6 and you had a low group and a high group, I might just make 2 different classes. Period 6 low, period 6 high, and maybe I gave the higher group harder material and the lower group easier material. If you don't do that though, even if they were all in one class and you had easier material in there, just rest assured that once those higher students showed mastery on the easier skills, Get More Math is going to stop putting $signs on it. And so they're not going to earn points on them anyway. So you don't really have to worry too much. Of course, yes, they would do them initially, but in the long term, Get More Math is going to kind of push those higher students into the higher skills anyway. Thank you guys so much. I know we're all just doing the very best we can right now. And right now, we want to do anything we can to help. So like I said, if this at all seemed like something that you might be able to use to help both you and your students over the next few months and then next year, we will be back in the classroom at some point. Please reach out. We'd be happy to help. Any other questions, anything I missed, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks so much for your time. See you guys.